Hello Year 7, Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. I hope you've had a very restful holiday and you are ready to do some work. This is Victor. He's just woken up from a sleep. Okay, so he might just scootle off and probably go back to bed. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this is your first remote lesson of 2021. Here we go, some top tips to help you do your work the best you can. First of all, try and work in a quiet place where you can concentrate. That might be in your bedroom, it might be in your kitchen, it might be on the sofa if it's quiet. It doesn't matter where it is as long as you can concentrate. Make sure you've got everything that you need. You need your English exercise book or some paper that you can write on. You might have a laptop or a computer. Okay, you can work on that if you need to. Make sure you've checked Teams. You should know how to use that. And make sure you've checked the instructions that your teacher has put on there. There should be a message to go with this video so you know what to do. Most importantly, follow the instructions, work hard and do your best. Okay, most of you will never have been taught by me, but you will have seen me around Fernside. My name is Mrs. Sunderland and I'm going to be making these videos for you for this first week for your new unit in English. Okay, it's good for you to get to meet me as head of English, have a new teacher, but your other teachers will be in touch and they will be seeing the work that you've been doing. Okay, I'm also part of all your groups on Teams, so I can see everything that you upload as well. All right. What do you do if you need help? First of all, pause the video. Work at your own pace. Don't rush through it. Have you got a friend you can get in touch with? Can you use WhatsApp? Can you use Zoom? All those fancy technologies that you young kids can use. Okay, obviously we can't be in the same room as each other, sadly, but you might have a sibling, you never know. Okay, you may be lucky to have a sibling in the same year group. I doubt it very much, but if there's anybody you can help with, you can work with, do that if you can. Again, check the instructions on Teams. If you get stuck, email your teacher or email me. I'm Mrs. Sunderland, staff.zsunderland@kingjames.school. Okay, and I can give you a hand. Obviously, if I get 500,000 emails, I might struggle a little bit. The website on King James's has got useful videos on how to upload work, how to use Teams, and the English Google website that you've probably used already has as well. The description on this YouTube video has got links to both those pages with the videos on as well. All right, so there is no excuse on not being able to use the technology. If you can use TikTok, you can use Teams. Okay, not going to repeat these instructions at the start of every video. This is just a one-off. Okay, so if you need to pause the video just to read those bullet points, do so. You will need your exercise book, you will need a pen, you will need a quiet place to work. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Okay, Year 7, the first thing I want you to do is to write the title that's on the screen in your exercise book, Coraline and Story Types. So if you need to pause the video, do that here and write the title. Remember to write it clearly and underline it, and you can also write the date of whatever the day is that you are watching this video. Okay, now here's a little recap from before Christmas. On the screen is a snapshot of a flip chart that you should have seen in your first term's work. They are some descriptions of some types of stories that you have looked at in your heroes and villains unit of work. I'm going to read them through and I want to see if you can remember what types of stories they were. The only thing you need to write down are 4 words. What story types can you remember they were? You don't need to write down those long definitions. So first of all, we have a traditional story concerning the early history of people and typically involves supernatural, including mortals and immortals. Second of all, we have a traditional story, sometimes popularly regarded as history, but which has no or little authentication, which means it's not proved to be true. Third, we have a story where there is a lesson to be learnt and the characters are typically animals. And lastly, we have an account of real or imaginary people and events told for entertainment. So pause the video and have a think, and can you remember the 4 words that name those types of stories? Answers are coming up shortly. Okay, here we go then. So did you get the first one? That was a myth. You should have all got that because you've written your own. Fantastic ones, so I hear from your English teachers. Secondly, did you get a legend? Legends, types of stories. And then third one, a fable. Fable where there's a lesson to be learned, something we should all learn from. And the last one is a story, something where we are just entertained by it. Okay, so well done Year 7 if you remembered those 4 types of stories from your first unit. Okay, so what type of story are we looking at this time? There are some images on the screen, strange images. It's not any of the 4 stories we've just looked at in the previous screen. So have a look. We've got here in this top screen here, what does she look like? She's a witch. What have we got here? This is a goblin. We've got here, that's not me, that's a dragon. Never been called a dragon. Lovely. What have we got here? We've got some potions, some tarot cards. Look like someone's doing a spell of some sort here. Then we've got here, we've got a dwarf, one of Snow White's little friends here. We've got an elf or an elfin here sat on a rock in a forest. And here we've got a giant because we've got a little boy sat on his shoulder. Okay, so do we know what type of story this is? Pause the video if you want to look at the pictures a little bit longer and have a think about it. Can you think what sort of story we're going to be looking at? The answer is 3, 2, 1. A fairy tale. Haha, but there's a twist in our fairy tale. Okay, so what's special about fairy tales? Why are we reading about fairy tales in Year 7? It's a bit childish, isn't it? Oh no, not the fairy tale we're going to be reading. I can assure you that. So just pause the video and have a think. Can I think of what is special about fairy tales? What makes them different to a myth, to a legend, to a fable, or just to any other story I may have read? See if you can think of any ways that makes a fairy tale a fairy tale. Okay, have you got some ideas? Right, well, here's mine. First of all, they're really old. You may not have got this idea, that's okay, but make sure you jot these ones down as well as the ones you've got. They're old, older than your English teacher. Hard to believe, I know. We've told fairy tales since before books were ever existent. Okay, it's called the oral tradition. We told stories around the fire. We told stories to children before they went to bed, before we had books. And you can imagine that if we told stories when we didn't have them written down, what happened to those stories? What do you think? They changed. They got more elaborate, more fancy, more scary. Characters changed. Yeah, like Chinese whispers. Okay, things changed. So if you got a bit bored with the story, make that bit fancier, make that bit dangerous. Okay, so oral tradition. They've been passed down for many, 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 many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before they were ever recorded in books. Oral tradition. Fairy tales have magical settings. magical places that the stories exist in. They have objects in them which also are magical. So you may start now to be thinking of some stories that have these things in them. They have people with magical powers. They have people who have helpers who are supernatural or have magical powers as well. But particularly the characters have people who help them. And finally, the characters in them often have relatives who are enchanted in some way. Are we all okay with the word enchanted? It means to be put under a spell in some way. Okay, so you can think about any stories that you might remember where a character has a relative who is put under a spell. Maybe then they need to save them in some way. Okay, so make sure you've got those ideas written down in your book, Year 7. Well done so far. Okay, next of all, I want you to think then, why are they so important? Why are we studying fairy tales in Year 7? Year 7, fairy tales? Sounds a bit babyish. Oh no, not the fairy tale we're going to read. So, why are they important? What do we learn from fairy tales? Pause the video if you need to. Have a think. Can you write any things down that you think, why do we need to study fairy tales? I'm not a child anymore. Well, they spark our imagination. They help us solve problems. And they help us think of possibilities. Always got to think of things we can possibly do. And finally, they help us escape to new worlds when life's a little bit rubbish. Ooh, wonder if I can think of a time like that. Fairy tales, stories with magical places, help us escape. Okay, so just jot those down. Why fairy tales are important. Then, can you think of some examples of fairy tales that you know? You've all, I imagine, been told a fairy tale at some point in your life. Can you think of some different types, different sorts of fairy tales? So just pause the video and can you write down in your exercise book some examples of fairy tales? Okay, some examples that I have. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. What examples of fairy tales have we got in there? The magical object, the enchanted person, the witch. Rumpelstiltskin, you may not have heard of that one. She was certainly a magical person. There was certainly a supernatural helper. We've got Hansel and Gretel. Certainly a magical place in that one, with the gingerbread house. And then we've got Jack and the Beanstalk. We've certainly got the giant in there, haven't we? We've got the magical world. Okay, you may have got different ones. The other ones that you've got, try and think and try and look at the parts of the fairy tale, what identifies them as fairy tales. Well done so far, Year 7. Right. What we're going to do next is we're going to look at 3 book covers of the book that we are going to be reading together. And we're also going to be looking at the blurb, which is the back cover that gives us a little bit of information about the story. So what I want you to do is, in your exercise book or on your computer, whatever you're working on, your piece of paper, I want you to draw the table. But I want you to make sure that on your table, you need to make sure that you leave enough room to write in your boxes. So ideally, a full page in your exercise book. Okay, so turn it landscape, use a ruler so it's nice and straight. You should have all your equipment ready with you. All right, you need 5 columns and 3 rows. Okay, so you've got it there. Your teacher may make you one and upload it onto Teams. I'll make sure they've got one if you need. But pause the video so you can make sure you've reproduced the table as it is on the screen, Year 7. Make sure it's nice and neat. All right. Okay, so book cover number 1. Have a look at this. You are looking for what you can see on the book cover. So we have, get my little pointer on, we've got a girl, hands in her pockets, long hair in a ponytail, jeans and t-shirt on. She got an expression on her face? Not sure. We've got a cat, grey, a little bit like my cat Victor, as you saw earlier on, and we've got a house here. It all looks a little bit unusual. It's kind of cartoony, sort of. And we have a little bit of writing at the bottom. Lemony Snicket, you might recognise that writer's name. You may have read some of his books. And he says, "This book tells a fascinating and disturbing story that frightened me nearly to death." Okay. Doesn't sound like Cinderella, does it? No. Right. So, on your table that you've drawn in your books, you've got the top row that says, "What can I see on the cover?" Alright, so in your first table, what can you see? All you are doing is spotting. What can I see? What kind of things can you see on that cover? Alright, I'm going to bring up the next book cover now, so pause this video as you need to. Work at your own pace. So, book cover 2. Right, very different book cover. What can we see? Pause the video if you need to. What can you see? Try and look for some small details. Look for shapes, look for angles. Can you see something that might look like something else? There's all sorts of things in this middle one, and we'll all probably get different ideas. So pause the video, and on your top row, what can you see? You are just looking for information. Okay, the third book cover. Again, a very different book cover. What can you see? Again, try and look for some small detail. I'll just wave this around a little bit here. Okay, small detail. There may be something, now you've got all 3 up, there may be something, in fact more than one thing, that is common across all 3 book covers. Okay, so pause the video if you need to and complete the top row. Once you've got the top row completed, the next thing you are going to do is to complete the bottom row. And the bottom row of your table, Year 7, is what it makes you think the book is going to be about. So for example, look here. We've got a black cat. Black cat. Black cat, grey cat. What does that make you think the book's going to be about? Okay. There are other things in there. This is just you making a prediction about what you think the book is about. We know it's a fairy tale. Okay, we've already worked on that. We know what fairy tales all include. So can you make an assumption based on the fact that we're going to be reading a fairy tale? What do you think the book is about based on what you can see? Just on the book covers. Pause the video and do that now. Okay, so this is a book blurb, the back of the book, copies of the book we have in school. And this tells us what the book is about. It sometimes gives us a little extract from the book. It sometimes gives us quotations from famous writers who has read the book and recommends it to us. So here we go. Sometimes a door is closed for a very good reason. There is something strange about Coraline's new home. It's not the mist or the cat that always seems to be watching her, nor the signs of danger that Miss Spink and Miss Forcible, her new neighbours, read in the tea leaves. It's the other house, the one behind the old door in the drawing room. Another mother and father with black button eyes and papery skin are waiting for Coraline to join them there, and they wanted to stay with them forever. She knows if she ventures through that door, she may never come back. Step into this wonderfully creepy world of Coraline, the thrilling and sinister modern classic from New York Times best-selling author Neil Gaiman. Terry Pratchett says it has a delicate horror of the finest fairy tales, and it is a masterpiece. Philip Pullman says, a marvellously strange and scary book. Okay, so on your final column in your table, I want you to think, right, what information does this blurb tell me? Can I look for any keywords? Can I see any information that it's telling me? What does the blurb give me? And then at the bottom in your last box, what does it make me think the story is going to be about? Okay, just pause the video and just jot some notes in your table. Okay, final task of the lesson, year 7. We're nearly there. What sort of fairy tale is this book going to be? I want you to summarise what you have learned this lesson. So there are some sentence starts on the screen that you can use if you wish to, all right? But I want you to write me a paragraph, few sentences, depending on how confident you are, on what you have learned about fairy tales, about the book covers, and about the blurb, and what sort of fairy tale you think this is going to be. I want you to think about the vocabulary you need to be using if you're writing about a fairy tale. So for example, you might be using the word spell, enchantment, witch. So there's some vocabulary at the side as well that you can try and use in your paragraph. So try and make sure you're spelling those key vocabulary words correctly as well. All right, so pause the video and use those sentence starts to help you write a paragraph telling me what you think the book Coraline is going to be about based on what you've seen on the book covers, in the blurb, and what you know about fairy tales. And I'll show you my example afterwards and we can compare yours with mine. Okay, good luck. Okay, now first of all, do not worry if your paragraph is not like mine. Don't forget, I'm an English teacher and you're a year 7 student, all right? This is just here to help you along and to add any detail to yours, all right? So you can have a look at yours, you can have a look at mine and think, oh, I didn't get that, or, oh, I like that idea, I'm going to steal Mrs. And that's absolutely fine, all right? So we'll read through mine and then have a look at yours and you can think, oh, I'm going to steal that and I'm going to add that to mine. Or you can just think, well, mine's different, and that's okay. All right. So what sort of fairy tale is a book going to be? This is what I thought. I think the book Coraline is going to be a frightening fairy tale. I think this because on the front cover of the book, I can see images of black cats. These are often associated with evil and witchcraft. Witches are often thought to cast spells and enchantments on people, so maybe someone in the story has a spell put on them. Also, in the middle book cover, there is a tree which looks like a hand reaching out to grab the little girl. Did any of you spot that? Maybe this is a magic or enchanted tree. It also looks like a magical or enchanted world as the ground is curved and not flat. Did you spot that? There's all sorts of details in that middle book cover. In the blurb, I can see the character is called Coraline, which is an unusual name, not Coraline. I meant to put not Caroline. See, even I've made a mistake. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to correct that, just to prove to you that even I'm not always right. This makes me think she might be unusual in some way. There is also clearly another enchanted world with magical people in the story, as she has another mother and father, but they seem quite terrifying as they have black button eyes and papery skin. Look, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Caroline, there we go. This doesn't seem like a normal fairy tale for young children. Okay, so what you can do, year 7, is you can have a look at your paragraph, have a look at mine. You may have got some very different things. Did you spot anything that was common across all 3 book covers? Did you spot the cat? Did you spot the house? What else was there in the last book cover? Did you spot the thing that she was holding that looked like a magical object? You can always go back through the video and pause it and have another look. All right, well done for all your hard work. Don't forget to check Teams and see whether or not your teacher wants you to upload your work today or whether they want you to do it at the end of the week. Okay? Really proud of you. Your first remote lesson of 2021. Okay? Keep working hard, keep checking Teams, make sure you work as best as you can be, and we will see you next lesson. Over and out, Year 7.